Welcome to charts. I'm going to talk about three basic kinds of charts. But first of all, why charts? Well, you know, people have a hard time making sense of numbers and data. And you could just run this page like this, just a bunch of text and a photo. And, you know, a lot of publications look like this online, whatever. But you know, you add just a little note to it, like a little chart, and it sort of, all of a sudden becomes it elevates it a little bit. It becomes informational. And it can also, so it draws the eye, and they're going to read that. And it's a good entry point into the story too, even something that small. But basically, charts or graphs, a lot of people call them graphs. Charts has become synonymous for graphs. I know there are purists who say, no, but you know what? I say charts. So sue me, go write your congressman. But basically they take data like this and they turn it into something visual using these symbols that we're all familiar with. This is a proportional pie chart. So charts are just ways of making sense of this data. And in this data, there's actually an error, and I'm going to see if you can find it. I'm not going to spend too long. I'll actually tell you what it is. And it was in Newsweek magazine. But basically this data is Martha Stewart, who's she has cooking shows and all these kinds of things, books on, you know, housewares. I don't really follow her too well, but it's all about her empire. Where does all her money come from? And so here's a pie chart that shows where everything comes from. And there's an error in here. I'll give you 10 seconds, 1001, 1002. Okay, time up. It's missing the other category. A pie chart should always add to 100%. And this has 27, 26, 9, and 1. Doesn't even come close to 100%. It's showing the major components of her publishing empire, but it should have another category to it because it's not all of where she makes her money. It's just the major components. And basically, this is a very relevant pie chart if it were right, as is, looking the way it is, with a headline and explaining what this is. But we decided that we wanted to anchor 2 pages in the magazine with it. So, well, you know, it's Martha Stewart, who is about food and pastries and pies. And so for the first and only time in my career, I made a pie chart out of pies. And we went to the local bakery and we bought some pies. We had a lot of pie that day at Newsweek. We basically printed out the pie chart, the size of the pie, on a printer and put it over the top of the pie and cut right through it with a knife to get the slices, and wound up cleaning it up in Photoshop a lot. And this is what we wound up with. So you can see we're missing the other category. At least it's not completely wrong in the sense that it is still showing the major components of her empire. So the magazines there, we just bought at the local magazine stand and scanned them. This was all put together in After Effects, which is the predecessor to InDesign, and from another company that everybody used at the time. And the chair we got from her publicist, because whatever we found online was not high resolution enough. We needed a higher res image. And all the other images, actually, the photo of Martha with a baking pan and the flowers, all came from the web. So what are the components of a graph? Well, I love a headline and a subhead that explains what the graph is about. A lot of people just stick a graph up there and say, you figure it out. Here's some numbers, good luck, I'm off. Headline and a little explains it to them, everybody feels smarter. Remember, graphics should make you feel smarter. But these are the components, a headline, a subhead. You can go ahead and pause here and read through these and see what they are. I'm going to be talking about 3 basic kinds of charts that are very popular. One is the bar chart that compares categories. As you can see at the bottom here, they have, again, they're different pieces of individual fruit, and so it's comparing them. But with a bar chart, you can also compare over time. You can see at the bottom of the bars now, there is time. So a bar chart is sort of multi-purpose. It also works like a pie chart where you can show all of the elements of a whole. So a bar chart is very, you know, it's your Swiss Army utility chart that kind of does a lot of different things. As I said, a pie chart only compares component parts of a whole, as I said with Martha Stewart, so it shows everything, 100% of something. You don't always have to put percentages on there. You can actually put the whole number. Like on the Martha Stewart chart, I could have actually put millions of dollars, you know, how many millions of dollars she gets, along with the percentages, or I could have just left the millions of dollars, how many millions she gets from each one of these different parts of her company. And a line chart shows things over time. You see how it flows like that? Whatever you do, do not put individual categories at the bottom, like apples, pears, grapes. Don't do that. That's for the bar chart. You always want to have dates or times of some sort of flow on the bottom of a line chart. A little bit about type on charts. You want them to all be the same on all the charts across whatever you're doing. Use the same type, size, and style. In the case of these, I've actually created the same little block of text for each one of these with a little bold lead-in. The bold lead-in just makes it scannable. So you could put a very descriptive word there that will keep people from having to read the rest of the text maybe. In the case of the scales here, they're the same exact font size, same with the bottom, same font size across the whole bottom. They're smaller than the other fonts around, and that's okay, so long as they're legible on the platform you're using. And when you package these things together, you want to make sure they all kind of look alike and go together. Like in this case, a student made these. They are using similar colors, similar fonts. There's a few things I'd clean up in here, like the red type in the pie chart. But other than that, this looks pretty good compared to, say, this one, where it's kind of chaos. There's no real structure or order to it. Things are too deep. Things, you know, the bar chart and the line chart should have been squished up to be the same depth as the pie chart, so it looked more like this one. There's not a lot of design. You can print out this document and it'll help you remember what each one of these charts does.